Hi, this is 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. Today we are looking at Ninja Legends. Ninja Legends is a fast-paced, blood-pumping, multiple enemy approaching ninja training game that you are going to slash your way to victory if you can get past the oncoming ninja hordes. They are swarming and coming from all directions, and your job is to ninja fight them back. In our VR Gear game reviews, we like to cover as many aspects of the game as possible so that you can make an informed decision before you try or buy one of these VR titles. We're going to jump into Ninja Legends today, and we're going to start with talking about how to get up and running with this game, how much it costs, and where you can get it. This game is about 1 gigabyte in size, and you can get it from the Viveport Infinity subscription, the Steam store, the Oculus store, but you cannot get it from the PSVR store. If you're going to buy this game outright, it will cost you $19.99, or if you have the Viveport Infinity subscription, it comes along with that subscription. When you download and install this game, it's only a couple of minutes before it's ready to play. And once you jump into the game, you can use your samurai swords and learn ninja skills using a bow or a staff or a shadow step. I'm not sure what that is, but it's listed in the game description. All sorts of weapons you'll learn to use in the tutorial so that once you're in gameplay, you'll be familiar with how to fight off the incoming enemy that are coming in different cadences. The way that you master this game is understanding the cadence that you need to adopt to block attacks and parry with the enemy to win the battle. You can use a sword, an arrow, a staff, all sorts of other weapons that you can earn and upgrade as you make your way through the 18 different levels of the game. You'll play this game from the invisible first-person perspective, where all you see is the weapon that you are supposedly holding. You see your swords or your arrow, but you don't necessarily see any of yourself. So first person, but the ghost version of first person as you're playing Ninja Legends. For theme and story, this game has a Ninja Warrior theme, I guess Ninja Legend theme, and it really is all down to what you bring to the game in terms of what you would like to become by the end. The game says you'll become a Ninja Legend, but there isn't much to it, as in there's not a story that you're being pulled through until you come to the final boss. There's just an increasing level of difficulty, different types of enemies, bigger enemies, different weapons that you get to use, but as far as a storyline, there isn't really one. As far as a theme, yeah, there's a theme. It's ninja fighting and samurai sword swinging, arrow shooting. It's a melee fighting game, and the theme is around ninjas. For controls, this game is incredibly simple, and it should be, and we're glad it is. The only thing you need to do besides holding on to swords and swinging your arms is pull the trigger to engage a special weapon like a bow and arrow. The only time you'll use the trigger on your controller is when you're shooting your arrow with your bow and arrow. Otherwise, you'll just be swinging swords to fight off incoming swarms of ninjas. For music and sound, this game had a thematic soundtrack that went along with what you were doing, fighting off other bad guy ninjas. And it also had good sound effects that helped you know what you had just done, like sliced somebody in half, or shot an arrow, or that you had just been hit. The game developers did a good job of adopting spatial audio so that you knew what direction the bad guys were coming from. This was important because the game is supposed to be played in a 360-degree arena, and you should be able to fight people off coming from all different directions. As a result, being able to hear where they're coming from was a really big added bonus so that you could do better at fighting them off. Another part of the audio experience was that you would hear people yelling things at you while they were approaching. We did not have subtitles on, so we don't know what they were saying. Hopefully it wasn't terrible, but maybe it was. They were trying to get us, trying to kill us, and trying to slash us with their swords. For player movement, you won't be moving around in the real world and you are stationary in the virtual world. This is great because if you don't move in the virtual world and you don't move in the physical world, motion sickness is greatly reduced. But you will be rotating from left to right and looking up and down to make sure that you are defending against the oncoming attackers and that you're able to fight them off. But you'll be playing this game from a standing or seating position. For us, we like to sit in a swivel stool while we're playing games like this. Standing in one place for an extended period of time can get tiring and reduce the amount of time you can spend in VR. So a nice swivel stool is what we've adopted so that we can play games like this for a longer period of time. For motion sickness in this game, there wasn't very much at all. And the way the game was designed, it was meant to minimize motion sickness because you aren't moving in a lateral direction while in VR or in the physical world. However, most games like this have you engaging the enemy in a field of view that is mostly in front of you, at the most 180 degrees to either side. This game, though, has you looking beyond 180 degrees and potentially 360 degrees worth of enemies coming at you. Because of this, you can become disoriented and you might become motion sick as a result. We find that it's important to remain oriented in the real world even when you're wearing your VR headset. When you lose that orientation from spinning around in circles while in VR, it adds quite a bit to the disorientation that you will feel. If there are visual cues in the game or if the game resets to the forward-facing position between each stage, that helps a lot so that players can continue to play without feeling sick and having to take off the headset. For environment and immersion, this game is filled with action. It's an action-packed melee game that is really based on learning how to optimize your fighting technique and learn new skills to fight the enemy. You're fighting in city streets, you see buildings and you see the sky and some trees and oncoming enemies, but the graphics aren't really what makes this game great. What makes this game engaging and makes people want to come back to it over and over again is the cadence and the speed of the attacks from the enemies and the skills that you need to learn and your ability to master them. As you get better at timing and as you get better at predicting when the enemy is going to strike and when you can strike to have the most success, then the game gets really fun and you progress through the levels a lot faster. That's what makes this game more immersive and makes you feel in the moment when you start mastering the timing and the technique of the different weapons. All right, so let's look at the scorecard for Ninja Legends VR, starting with theme and story. We're giving this game a 6 out of 10 for theme and story. The game obviously has a theme of ninja warriors, ninja fighting, and learning how to do combat melee style as a ninja. However, the game is lacking a clear storyline, and even though you might bring your own aspirations to be a Ninja Legend yourself into the game, that isn't something the game brings for you. So a 6 out of 10 for theme and story. For controls in this game, we're giving it an 8 out of 10. It is a very simple control setup, and we love simplicity when it comes to interacting in VR. And it's easier for users to get up and running and master the skills necessary to do well in the game. So a score of 8 out of 10 for controls. For music and sound, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. There was some theme music and there was sound effects with the melee combat as well as the oncoming enemies, but there were some areas where we would have loved to see some more context-specific audio, especially when the game got more intense. Having said that, the game still gets a 7 out of 10, which is a fantastic score for music and sound. For player movement, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10, and there's a lot that goes into this score. For example, a 360-degree melee fighting game, while tethered to a PC in a headset like the Valve Index that we were, makes the game kind of difficult to play in a 360-degree arena. If you were to play this game on something like the Oculus Quest, where you are completely untethered, that would be a fantastic situation to have 360-degree combat. Being able to change the gameplay from 360 degrees to potentially 180 degrees for people who are tethered might be a better deployment of the game fighting style. However, player movement overall was very well done. You don't move locations throughout battle. you are in a standing or sitting position in the real world, and you are in a fixed position in the virtual world. You just rotate around one axis to fight oncoming enemies. So for player movement, we're giving this game a 7 out of 10. For motion sickness, this game is getting a high score of 9 out of 10, and there's very little that the game developers would need to do to eliminate motion sickness entirely from this game, or disorientation. And that would be addressing the 360-degree gameplay that makes it so you are not oriented in the real world anymore during combat. Outside of that, the game was really sensitive to people who would be motion sick, which means this game would be great for people newer to VR who would be more sensitive to motion sickness in VR. So a 9 out of 10 for motion sickness. And finally, environment and immersion, this game is getting an 8 out of 10. The graphics were fairly well done, but that isn't what makes this game engaging. What makes this game really great is the pace of play, the type of skills that you need to master, and the non-stop oncoming enemies that have you nearly working up a sweat while fighting off these bad guy ninjas. So for environment and immersion, we're giving this game an 8 out of 10. And for the overall score, we're giving Ninja Legends a 7.5 out of 10. This is a fantastic score compared to the other games we've been reviewing, and we think this one is worth going out and giving a try. If you have the Viveport Infinity subscription, this is included right now, and you can go in and play this game without paying any extra money. It's also available on the Steam Store and the Oculus Store for $19.99. There are deals that occasionally pop up for these games, so pay attention to those as well. This has been 100 in 100, where we are reviewing 100 VR games in 100 days. We just reviewed Ninja Legends. Click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you can receive a notification tomorrow when we review another VR game. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.